How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm glad we're able to do
We were
that.
trying to figure out how to do all of it with this. Like, we had a moment of we're in the middle of Budapest and, like, how do I get the camera over the thing with the this and the. So it took a
Sorry.
second. I like your poster.
Yeah,
How did you choose the poster? I'm always curious, right? To
the
pick.
color purple, like the purple robe, like the one they put on Jesus before they crucified him. The Gospel of John describes the scene as they went out to Golgotha and crucified him with two others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. Now, John also describes a scene in Revelation 22, and we know John wrote both books, so it seems like John's connecting these two scenes. One is the throne in heaven with the tree of life on each side and Jesus in the middle, and the other Jesus crucified with two others, one on each side and Jesus in the middle. So I ask myself, well, why is John connecting the throne of Jesus in heaven with the cross of Jesus? I mean, it's amazing. Um, One insight is that heaven is more than a place, it's a person, it's wherever Jesus is. Even the most hellish scene, Jesus nailed to a cross, overlaid on that scene, a heavenly throne. Dark times where you're just mentally exhausted, heaven is wherever Jesus is. That got me thinking of another question. Hey, maybe you could make a rapture ready video about all this? Should I talk about the next? So the Gospels have Jesus say, my God, why have you forsaken me? But we know Jesus is quoting from Psalms chapter 22, where my God, why have you forsaken me? And where, well, the history of the Jewish people, I mean, Babylon, the Persians, Greece, the Romans, it's a nightmare of massive proportions. So for the Jews, I can understand a feeling of abandonment. And I mean, like, this is Guantanamo level shit. Like, there's working through your shit, and then there's this. I mean, come on. Um, so Jesus restates the question, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then answers it. And he doesn't just tell them his answer, he shows them by laying down his own life and dying on the cross for them so they may live. In John chapter 10, this is the whole reason Jesus came, so we might have life and have it to its full potential. And so there's no greater love than to lay down your life for another. I mean, we all know this, right? This is the ultimate act of humanity. I mean, it's like it's to have life, you must first be prepared to lose your life. I mean, it's meaningful. You embrace your humanity. You don't pull back. You don't lose faith in humanity. You do the opposite. Which doesn't mean, oh, hey, I can become a superhero for Jesus or be an extraordinary Christian. Oh, yeah, unsubscribe. No, I think it means to worship the God of the living is to live. As Jesus lived, we can do it. And that's it. And I think surely if we do this and are not afraid to go deeper into our humanity, we just might experience God in the present.
I was always very, very moved by this. When I started to meet with different people who are refugees, and then somebody talked about this, it's kind of it's this sea of humanity, right, that moves in the world in a very different way. And it's a population. It's a people, and it's this very there. It's hard to really explain the thing that bonds people in a country to say we are all from this country, or we are all this race, or we are all this faith, right? Is something very bonding for different people. What brings displaced people together is so different and so extraordinary, and such an unusual and intense and very different thing that has brought forward their humanity and the struggle and the life force and the understanding of the darkest aspects of being human and the most beautiful, in the way that you pull through together, that it is this family. It is really a family. It is a people, a refugee population, a displaced population. I think it's displaced over 110 million people now in our world. 110 million people who are the people in the world that understand what it is to be forced from their homeland and to live displaced, and have that in common, and have all the reasons that they were displaced in common. So what you show and what you represent in this, so I was very moved when I realized there was a refugee in this. So to me, it is a country in many ways, right? It is this world.
It's humanity at its greatest potential.
Yes.
I'm aware that we've made quite a number of videos together in the last few months. Probably 20 or so. Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Always, anything.
Okay, well, when you watched our videos and met the team the first time, and we wanted to know what it was. Why did you decide to join the team, the Rapture Ready team?
That's a nice question. I think, as I mentioned before, I've never been able to express what I feel when I've traveled the world and met people around the world and seen this humanity and this togetherness, this understanding of this shared humanity, and that of people, and as you mentioned, not in some way where it's superheroes or something perfect or victims, just real people just being extraordinary because they're just human and trying and fighting and connected and open and honest, and so when I saw it, I felt that it was the first time I really saw, in many ways, a different representation of a refugee, and I felt close to it. I felt like friends, like you are friends. I felt that way, and I left it feeling like all these people could be my friends. These are people I've come to know a little bit. I now root for, and in this very there's just something so natural about it, and the way you've done it, that I think it will make people learn that about, and hopefully walk away feeling that's the potential of the world we can live in. That's the way we can learn about it, connect with each other. This is the way it can be. This is how we can be. So it gave me hope, which I don't often say because it sounds a little cliche. Something gives me hope, and it gives you but this one gave me hope, and it made me happy.
I think, for me, I see a lot of hope for people who live their lives fully, who don't lose faith in humanity but do the opposite, because God is life. And it's true, Jesus came into this world not to make us more religious, and certainly not to make us more spiritual. He came that we might live our lives fully. And he didn't just tell us, he showed us.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing. Jesus was not superhuman, he was fully human. You don't have to be superhuman to do what Jesus is asking. You just need to be fully human, because Jesus made people whole, and we can do the same. Help people, build them up. To me, that's how God becomes more visible in the world, and I think this is the hope Jesus offers.
Well, and I think what it is that you see like real hope, because there's a difference of something that's like beyond and it's just a fantasy of dream. But there's the other that's like just being in the day, just being your best, just fighting for something, just representing yourself, knowing yourself, pushing through, and not giving up or feeling like giving up, but just being.
Hell yeah. I mean, in the Gospel of John, Jesus is all guns blazing about his crucifixion. He's like, bring it on, man. And that's when he's glorified, right? But the Gospel of Mark is different. Jesus is tired, he's troubled, he's overwhelmed, sweating blood, take this cup away. I'm like, in John's story, the cross is a triumph. It's a victory. Jesus has the authority, and he's glorified. But in Mark, it's the opposite. It's dark, it's torture. But the cross is ultimately a triumph. And I think the cross is ultimately a triumph, but Mark portrays Jesus as being tired. It's a very dark moment, and I'm trying to harmonize this with, what I'm reading in John.
And I think because it's you know, you can still be tired and not have the fight in you every day, but you haven't become dark. You haven't become right. That is a victory. That's maybe the biggest victory. You know, this idea that it's supposed to look a certain way. The victory is to still get up in the morning and not hate and blame your fellow man for all that you've suffered, right? The biggest victory is to get up and still be able to smile with your children and keep living. And what is it to live? And that's maybe something I also learned when I would be very young and meeting refugee families and meeting people who have experienced more than I could ever imagine or anybody I knew had ever experienced. And they had more of a sense of life, and they were more present and felt more honest, just as, and that's, to me, I think why it's got to be why we're all here, right? We're all here to be very connected to each other and human, and try to really understand what that is, not to gain things and awards and, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So I look forward to finding new things to work on, and
you can call me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. I really wish I wasn't filming and I could pop over, but I can't wait to see.
We now finish each other's sentences.
We'll screen also in New York and LA, and you know, just continue to, I'm around, and
we're all very grateful. Thank you. One day.
Of course.
Of course.
Be a part of this. This is a special one to be a part of.
Thank you.
Please welcome Angelina Jolie. Angelina. Mr. Lancer, have well, I'm on the job, you big nabob.
Never had a friend. Never had a friend. You ain't. Never had a friend. 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 Never. Never had a friend, never had a friend, you ain't never had a friend like me.